Today we're joined by Mikayla Winkel. She's a third year nursing student at Queen's. She's a third year nursing student at Queen's, so same class as Jameson is in. She was an orientation leader last year, and then this year she's on the nursing orientation committee, among lots of other things. So needless to say, she's very active in the Queen's community, and we're pretty lucky to have her on the show today.
Welcome, Mikayla.
So
Thanks, guys.
you might be asking yourself, why do we have another nursing student on here? But a direction I'd like to take the club, we want to show people what you can do in the research field, but we also want to show everybody what else you can do in the field of nursing that's not being a traditional floor nurse. Because there's a ton of opportunities when you graduate as an RN for different pathways you can take if you're not so into the working on the floor deal. So Mikayla, she's been working at the HR department in the hospital for the past couple summers, I believe. So today we have her on the show, and we're going to learn a little bit about working in HR as a registered nurse.
A registered nurse. Mikayla, welcome. I'd like to say, I know you've been thinking about this all day. It's amazing. Yeah.
Mikayla, I've been sitting at my office thinking about all the things I'm going to talk about. I'm so excited. I love HR.
You're set.
I love HR.
Awesome. So how'd you end up there?
So I started last year. So I've been there for 2 summers, and it kind of was just pure luck. I was looking for a summer job, and I was the typical university student, just kind of applying wherever I could. Lakeridge Health is the hospital that I work at in Oshawa, so it's super close to me. My hometown is Whitby. So I kind of just threw my resume in as any other student would, and just in hopes that I would get any type of position. So because I was only in second year, we hadn't had clinical experience yet, so I couldn't really do much actual nursing hands-on floor work. So it was kind of perfect when I got the call to come in for an interview for HR. So I was just kind of lucky that I guess they liked my resume and liked my interview, and I have been there since. So.
Nice. Well, good for you.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
So you love it. So it's something you want to do after you finish?
So I don't really know 100% what I want to do when I graduate. I've thought about so many different options. In first year, if you asked me, I would have probably said geriatrics and just I love old people. And then it has changed a lot. I probably in second year, first semester, I was like, yeah, I like med surg. I think that's really fun. And now that has completely thrown out the window. And then I like maternity and that kind of aspect. But it always comes back to HR, just because even if I don't do that right after I graduate, even if maybe I'm like 40 and then I decide to go into HR, I just think I'm not the biggest person in the world and the most strongest person. So I'm thinking nursing might get a little bit physically exhausting after a while. So
yeah, for sure.
HR might be a good call for me. And I think having this experience now and making these connections now with the people at the hospital near me, I'm hoping that maybe once I'm kind of over the traditional floor nursing, that maybe I can use this experience here and then work in HR and do your typical kind of office job.
Right. So yeah, I can imagine. Well, we all know nursing is a very physical job. I think I can attest to that. We're working in long-term care this summer, so it gets a little hard on the body sometimes, and I'm sure nursing is very similar. So yeah. So you mentioned it was an office job. So it's like Monday to Friday, 8 to 4?
Yeah. So, and that's another thing that I absolutely love, because one of the big drawbacks to nursing to me, obviously I love nursing and I'm very excited about my future career, but the hours, I still don't think I'll be able to accept that, because doing the night shifts and the 12-hour long days, I honestly think I will
collapse.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
So in HR, I go in every day. I go in at 8, I leave at 4, and then I have the afternoon and the night to kind of do what I want. So that I really, really love about
Mm-hmm.
that. And yeah, it's a Monday to Friday job. So I get my weekends. I can go up to the cottage. So
Nice. Yeah.
that's another thing that makes me want to somehow bridge into HR
Yeah.
eventually.
Okay.
Can I ask you a
Yeah.
question? So
Mm-hmm.
you show up, you walk in the door at 8 a.m. or 8:30. Like, what are
Yep.
you doing? You're sitting down at the desk. Like, what are you crunching?
Yeah. So for me, like my title or my role is the HR assistant. So if you envision when you first walk into a building, I am that girl sitting right at the front, ready to help you. Yeah, this is me at the computer. So for me, it's a lot of different processes. So there's grievances that I help with, which I find are really interesting. There's like leaves of absences that I will help with, a lot of employment letters that I'll do. So it's a lot of random little tasks that employees will call in for. And I'm kind of the main person that they will get all of that information from. And so it's a lot of thinking quick on my feet. I feel like that's also helping me a lot to be more agile with things, just because I'm on the phone and I can't really say, hold on a second. So I need to just figure out as quick as possible what to do with these people and how to help. So
Yeah, definitely.
it's a lot of that and a lot of like Excel sheets and emails and kind of constant
Yeah.
office work.
So how would the job be similar if you were to go back as a registered nurse, like when you're done school? How would it
I
change?
I think it would be a little bit different just because now I'm not technically an RN, so I can't completely do everything that a full registered nurse would be doing. So one of the ladies that is also in HR, she is actually about to retire soon. So she did the traditional floor nursing for, oh my gosh, I don't know how many years now. She told me last year, but she worked the normal floor hours in traditional nursing for a while, and then she kind of is my dream. She moved over to HR afterwards, kind of once she realized it was a bit too much, kind of too exhausting after a while. And
Yeah.
so she is one of the main people dealing with the grievances in all of the hospitals. So Lakeridge Health has 5 different big hospitals that are affiliated with it. So she is kind of one of the main people that all these complaints get sent to. And so I think it's so interesting to see kind of the background of all the things that you don't see when you're working on the floor. So
Yeah.
there's so many
Yeah,
people
definitely.
unhappy with different things, and she's kind of the one that has to deal with making it fair, kind of deal with the lawyers and all this really interesting stuff. And I think having her prior knowledge of working on the floor and being a nurse, she already can see, I think that their complaint is a little bit sketchy. Or she's like, okay, that's very valid because I think I would do that 10 years ago. So I think that is really, really cool.
Right.
Yeah,
Because she's
that
got
sounds
that RN experience, so she
Yeah.
understands people's
yeah.
issues. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Can I
yeah.
continue? Sorry. Continue,
Oh,
Mikayla.
I
Sorry.
was just going to say, and then there's also a few affiliated with HR, the occupational health nurses, which is another strand of nursing that I've thought about a lot. I'm very indecisive, but I don't know what type of nursing I want. But anyway, so I find their job every day very, very interesting just because, again, it's kind of a mix between HR and then being a traditional on the floor nurse. So they are kind of in their own little separate office, but throughout the day, like constantly, they have employees and new hires coming in wanting to get vaccinations and making sure they have everything up to date. And then also with COVID-19, they've been doing a lot of education and making sure the quarantines is happening. If you are exposed, you need to get tested, blah, 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 blah. So I find that nursing is also really interesting. So that's a whole other group of RNs that is part of HR. Yeah, so that's the thing that I think I'm missing, because a lot of the people in the HR department that I've talked to, almost all of them did kind of the same schooling route. If they aren't an RN, and even if they were an RN, they did the extra courses. So a lot of them took human resources or admin assistant or business courses at Durham or at a university, and that was kind of their major. So I think if I was seriously considering trying to make my way all the way up, I would do some courses after I graduate in the 4 years and kind of do that on the side. And then that would just be, I think that would just make my resume look so much better if I have the RN and then I also have the business and the human resources side. So I've thought about that too.
So did you ever consider about moving to a different hospital this year, or you were dead set on going back?
So I was 50-50. I wanted, because I had done the clinical experience and done 2 rotations, I was thinking, okay, maybe now for this summer I want to do PSW job, and then I can just work on my bedside manner and just strengthening those type of skills that I have. But because of COVID, it kind of got thrown out the window a little bit, and I personally didn't feel 100% comfortable going into the long-term care homes just with everything that's been going on. Like, kudos to all the people and all the students that have been working in the long-term care homes, but it wasn't for me for this summer. And I had a position, they had offered me to come back just because they really needed my help. And so I thought,
yeah, it's a no-brainer at that point.
Exactly. It was either not kind of not feel very comfortable in the long-term care homes or take this amazing job again. And it was literally a no-brainer for me.
What are some good personality traits you'd say if someone's watching this and they're interested in HR or even management in the hospital? What do you think is a good personality trait or skill to have?
Okay, so I can think of a couple. So accountability, you had said that, Jameson, and I think that's a huge one, not only for HR, but for any type of job. If you make a mistake, like for the example that I had, if you own up to it, people will respect you a lot more than if you are trying to cover it up or pretend like it didn't happen. So I think that is a huge characteristic that kind of makes people successful in all types of jobs. And then I think for HR in particular, you really have to be a people person, especially like we deal with so many people all the time, whether it's on the phone. Right now it's more on the phone and emails because of COVID. We're trying to decrease the amount of people coming in. But usually it's with a lot of face-to-face contact. So you need to kind of be able to talk easily with others, get along with others, have an easygoing personality to be able to succeed. So I noticed that right away. I don't know why I was nervous last year, just classic nerves, but everyone is so welcoming, so friendly.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So
well, everyone gets nervous.
That's a big one. Yeah.
I'm sure they understood why.
Yeah. They probably could tell I was like on the outside, I was probably shaking, and they were like, gosh, she's fine.
Yeah, you're vibrating. You're like, oh my God.
Probably. Or just getting beet red because that's what happens.
Thank you again, Mikayla. Mikayla Winkel, if anyone listening to this or us, nursing students, Mikayla, you're a great resource. So we'll definitely facilitate a lot through you and send people looking for HR ventures through yourself. Like, that's amazing. Thanks, Mikayla.
Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, guys.